Well, it's about time for some real talk about interest rates. And this is a tough conversation and one that I have resisted having, but it just seems like we've got to realize and kind of accept the truth about where we are with rates in this current environment. And there's one primary idea that I am going to introduce here. And I believe that it is one with substance about how the economy is behaving and how the rate predictors and the soothsayers and the economic predictors over a lot of different kind of the full spectrum of the economy, why people are just not being able to get a grip on what's going on and what seems to be coming down the pike. So we're here in May of 2025, about mid-May. We've gone through several cycles in the last 20 months since interest rates went up and kind of peaked around that almost 8%. I mean, we were trying to be the we were trying to be the sexy 8% by quoting 7.99%. That's how high rates got, and now we're down in the high sixes, and we've been persistently stubborn about that number, anywhere between 6.5 and 6.875, 6.99. And it seems like that there's not a piece of news, there's not an action being taken by the current administration, there's not a single thing that is actually putting downward pressure on rates. You can look at the history and see that if the administration announces some tariffs for trade, as an example, that's hot on everybody's mind right now. Then the bond market reacts and rates are stubbornly and consistently pressured up. And then when there's a deal struck or the announcement of a deal or an actual trade deal is pinned, rates are still going up because there's this ever persistent and consistent fear of inflation. Like every single thing that we do, whether it's on one side or the other, whether it's an A or a Z or a Z or an A, it's seen as potentially inflationary. And so everybody's got their brakes on, and it's super cautious and very reactive. So that's a real problem because the people who are forecasting things can't seem to get a grip on what is going to actually be effective and not be effective. And so here's the idea that I wanted to introduce here. And I've been a fan of this probably I think this thought originally occurred to me probably 4 or 5 years ago. And maybe actually as a result of, the pandemic stuff. But my idea is that we've simply never been here before. And that seems like a really simple idea on the surface, but if you dig underneath that a little bit, what I mean by we've never been here before is the fact that our society, the technology revolution, the evolution of technology, the new things that are coming at us so fast that we just have never been in a similar situation to this exact situation that we're in now. And you can say that 10 minutes from now, and 10 days, and 10 weeks, and 10 months. We are moving so fast. So what a lot of economists and predictors of economic trends do is they look back at past trends, they establish those trends, they look at the technicals, which is the charts and the numbers, and they try to draw conclusions and say, well, for every 18 months that we do this, then we've got this candlestick chart, and we have the inversion curve, and then all these things happen, and so this is what's coming. And if you go back to this idea that we've never been here before, then all of those technicals and all those charts just kind of give a vague general overview about what happened. And I don't really think that what happened 6 months ago has much relevance on what we're doing now, much less 6 years ago or 16 years ago, for sure. I don't think that has any relative value to what's going on right now. So on top of that, in our particular situation now, the current administration is making some radical changes to the way that we are doing things and the way that we're approaching our domestic issues and the way that we're approaching the world, much of which has never, ever been done before. And so I'm not here to argue at the merits of how that might be positive or that might be negative. Depending on what side of the political aisle you fall on, the sky is either going to fall, and you're hoping for the sky to fall, because if the sky doesn't fall, then we have to endure a far worse fate as a result of these policy changes. Or if you're on the other side, then to borrow the phrase, we're on the cusp of the golden age of America, and potentially, with recent changes, the golden age of the world. So how could both of those things be true? Well, as my father used to say, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. And you got to think about looking at the bell curve. These extreme ends, probably neither one of those is really going to happen. If you allow for one, you have to allow for the other, probably somewhere in the middle, that we will find out that these policies are ill-conceived, or we will find out that that the change and the difference and the revolutionary aspect of doing things in a radically different way than we've done them in the past is actually going to bring out positive results for Americans and for our economy. Until all of that plays out, and it's going to take some time to play out. You can't just, announce a strategy. So let me back up on that. You can announce a strategy and the market's going to react to it, but that market reaction doesn't necessarily mean anything. I believe that ultimately, however this happens, that we will ultimately kind of moderate in rates. But for the time being, we've gone through several cycles where rates should have gotten better. We've gone through several scares of increased inflation and several scares of increased chances for recession. We've had threats of big rate cuts that never materialized. I don't believe that we can reasonably depend on anything significant to happen in the near term. So, how does that affect home buyers and their decision-making process about trying to buy a new house, and how that reflects in the mortgage business? And maybe in overall market conditions, I personally am concerned that the deportation policies are going to push prices up because of construction costs. That maybe only affects builders. Maybe it's good for resellers. I don't know. All of that remains to be seen. I don't believe that rates are going to moderate anytime in the near term. Okay, so let's say that we're stuck with rates between 6.5% and 7%. If you are a person who is trying to get into the real estate world, let's say you're a first-time home buyer, I believe in the power of real estate. I believe in the old adage that you should buy real estate and wait. You should not wait and buy real estate. I also believe that prices will continue to increase, as I do not believe that there is any viable plan that could bring affordability on real estate down. Now, if you want to move to Arkansas or Mississippi, you could find a more affordable house. But if you're in a particular area that has robust values, you're probably not going to do yourself any favors by waiting for prices to come down. I don't believe that's going to happen under any economic condition unless the world's on fire. So that's also unlikely to happen. That's way out here on the bell curve. So waiting to buy real estate on rates to come down, probably not going to happen anytime soon. If prices are not going to come down, and what we see right now is a reasonable appreciation rate of around 5% in most markets in the country, then waiting to buy real estate is really not a very good idea, because you're losing ground. Am I saying that you should go out and buy real estate at all costs? Absolutely not. But I am saying that if you are in a position to buy, and if you're so that's first time home buyer, or if you're thinking about buying up, increasing the value of the real estate that you own, then sooner is better than later, because these prices are getting away from you if you're not in that boat. So the train, I've been saying this since 2012. If you're anywhere in a market like I am in Nashville, Tennessee, and you're thinking about buying up in real estate anytime in the next 5 years, you might want to think about getting ready to do that in the next 5 weeks. And that is based on this idea that if real estate is moving anywhere between 5 and 10% per year, and you're moving up and trying to buy more expensive real estate, that's getting away from you. You need to get in there sooner than later. So the urgency is really about prices. It's not as much about interest rates. You need to be prepared to be able to make the payments that come along with this higher edge of rates at 6.5 to 7%. And then we all hope that they will moderate somewhere around the 5 to 6% range. I don't ever believe that we're going to see those lower, rates under 5% or under 4.5%. But that could also happen if the government gets in a position where they feel like they've got to do some stimulus. And usually that comes through quantitative easing. That's where we saw those rates artificially low for an extended period of time because of QE. Not something to count on. So I hope this is helpful to try to kind of understand predicting rates and economic trends at this point. Man, it's kind of a crapshoot. So be prepared and prepare yourself to make decisions based on movement in real estate now. If you're in a position to buy, then it's time to buy. And if you're not in a position to buy, then you probably need to get ready and get yourself in a position to buy as quickly as possible.